Hello and welcome to One Eye. I can classify and give the most precise name for a quadrilateral. So this again is huge review, probably back to, your days as wee small children. Basically, when we're talking about a quadrilateral, the word quadrilateral just means four-sided polygons. If I am going to mark something as a quadrilateral, all it needs is four straight lines. That's it. So this guy right here, if I draw that figure, the only thing you can assume about him is that he is in fact a quadrilateral. Quadrilaterals then are split into three major categories based on how many pairs of parallel lines they have. The ones that you see most often are going to be parallelograms, and parallelograms have two pairs of parallel sides. Of course, we mark parallel sides with arrows. So to show that I have two distinct pairs of parallel sides, I'm going to draw one arrow on one side, or one pair of sides, and two on the other. That marks this shape as a parallelogram. If I were to take, again, my generic box, I could mark it the same way, and this guy, the only thing you can say about him right now is that he is a parallelogram. I don't care that he looks like he could be a square. That doesn't matter. The point is that from the markings, the only thing you know is that he has two pairs of parallel sides. We can also mark a parallelogram because they have two pairs, stop doing that, computer, two pairs of congruent sides. So what that means is I could mark these sides congruent and these sides congruent. Notice that they're opposite congruent sides. I really should write the word opposite in here. Sorry, guys. Opposite congruent sides. Within parallelograms, then, we have some subcategories. Our first two subcategories have to deal with the angles and the sides. Rectangles are parallelograms that have four congruent right angles. So, for example, again, if I give you your generic box, and if we mark these angles as 90 degrees, then you know that that is a rectangle. Again, we cannot assume that's a square, but we can assume it's a type of parallelogram, a type of quadrilateral, and more specifically, it is a rectangle because it has four congruent right angles. A rhombus, on the other hand, has four congruent sides. So a rhombus we would mark like that to show it has four congruent sides. You guys are probably used to seeing something like a diamond for a rhombus. Guys, do not use the word diamond. Diamonds are lovely, sparkly things that girls put on their fingers and in their ears. They are not geometric figures. A rhombus is a figure with four congruent sides. When a rhombus and a square happen at the same, when a rhombus and a rectangle happen at the same time, that shape is called a square. A square is a parallelogram with four congruent sides, so that's my rhombus marking, and four congruent right angles. Boom. That is my rectangle marking. Let me try that again without the thing jumping all over it. Okay. So four congruent right angles, four congruent sides. That's a square. So that is our parallelogram family. Then, if we go over, we have our trapezoid family. And so parallelograms had two pairs of parallel sides. Trapezoids have one pair of parallel sides. So my trapezoid, I would mark just like that. One pair of parallel sides. We can have a right trapezoid, which you're going to see sometimes, which is a trapezoid with a right angle, and you still have your pair of parallel sides. And then you can just have funky looking irregular trapezoids. But within trapezoids, there is another subcategory, and that is called an isosceles trapezoid. Now, if you remember from triangles, the word isosceles in triangles meant two sides were congruent. It means the same thing with trapezoids, but in trapezoids, it's that the non-parallel sides are congruent. So again, coming back to my generic quadrilateral, if these sides are my parallel sides, then to make this an isosceles trapezoid, these sides are my congruent sides. Your isosceles trapezoid is the trapezoid you see in your head. It's the red pattern block that you're used to seeing. It's this guy, parallel sides, congruent sides. Again, it's the trapezoid you see in your head. Our last category is called a trapezium, and trapeziums have no pairs of parallel sides. Trapeziums look funky. There's no way around it. They are funky looking shapes. My favorite trapezium is easily the chevron, which looks like that. I mean, look at that, guys. He's got 4 sides. Nothing is parallel. It's all over the place. Somebody probably wants to call him a triangle, but he's not because he has 4 sides. Trapeziums, we can't mark anything, can we? Now, a trapezium has one subcategory, and that is a kite. And a kite has 2 pairs of consecutive congruent sides. So think about the kite you may have played with as a child or seen in movies or, you know, watched Winnie the Pooh fly. A kite looks like that. And our pair of congruent sides, you have a pair there that are congruent and a pair there. That word consecutive means in a row or next to each other. So if I'm marking my generic quadrilateral, I'd mark these guys and I'd mark these guys to create my kite. All right, guys, that is the quadrilateral tree. If you learn this now, your life is a lot easier in the spring, by the way. I highly recommend figuring this out before it's too late. Thank you guys so much. Go ahead and take a look at the MML for this exercise, and we'll see you in class.